The current update for the game has added a new limited time AC swap shop to the shopping plaza. When you go to the swap shop, you can select it by going to limited time AC swap shop. You'll see that this is only going to be available until February 3rd. Basically the way this works is you're going to need to trade in AC scratch ticket items. Let's say I wanted this item here, you'll see that I have these 3 items I can exchange for this. Now this specific item would require 40 of these, and clearly I don't have enough of these. What most people are actually going to do is use recycle badges. Recycle badges can be obtained through the swap shop. Scroll down to recycle badge and you'll see that you can exchange any AC scratch ticket item for a recycle badge. What's nice about the recycle badges is you can actually buy these off the player market. Right here you can see these are worth about 1.1 million Meseta on ship 4. Keeping that in mind, we can roughly estimate how much it would cost to get these items. These first 3 items are S augments for units, and they would cost us a little over 40 million Meseta. That's actually a lot of Meseta for these items, so I'm actually going to go through this list of items and give you my thoughts on them, and what I think is worth buying and what I think is not worth buying. So starting out, we have these 3 S augments I was just talking about. These are for units. The S6 will go on your back, S7 on your arms, and S8 on your legs. The first one will grant you armor when you're affected by a status ailment. I don't think this is worth getting because 1, I don't really think that's all that great of an ability, and 2, most people are probably going to use an S6 that is specific to their class. If we look at my back piece, you'll see that I have the S augment Evernight Star. This basically makes it so that when I build up damage resistance as an Etoile, that damage resistance will decrease at half the rate as it normally would. The S6 augments for the other classes are also really powerful, if not more powerful than the Etoile one. So generally, I don't think it's a good idea to get this S augment from the swap shop. Next we have Still Grace. This will make it so that after you've remained stationary for 1 second, you'll begin restoring 4 PP every second. This isn't too bad of an ability, however I think whether or not you get this augment is going to be dependent on both your class and playstyle. I personally don't stay stationary that often when I'm playing, and I have no desire to be required to stand still, so I personally don't think this would be worth spending 40 million Meseta to get. Now, next is Skydance support. You'll see I actually already bought this one, and this one is actually going to automatically activate Shifta into band after you've remained airborne for 2 seconds. It will then automatically reapply these effects every 10 seconds. This is actually a really good ability, and the main reason that I wanted this is because I noticed recently that I wasn't actually affected by Shifta into band most of the time when I'm playing. And when I was affected by buffs, it was normally just Shifta and not to band, and having to band on me as well will really boost my survivability as an Etoile. If there's anything on this list that I would consider to be a must buy, it would probably be this S augment. However, some people actually got this as a drop from the mining base VR mission. I personally tried grinding for this, but I never got it to drop, and now that Divide quests are out, I have no desire to go back to those triggers, so I just bought this so I could be done with it. Next we have the Sentence augments. I don't think these are worth getting at all. If for whatever reason you really need this, then go ahead, but I don't think this is worth 20 million Meseta. Next we have Aether Soul, Factor Catalyst, Omega Memoria, and Reverie Catalyst. Aether Soul and Factor Catalyst are required to make Ether Factor. You see here in the Fix Assistant, we're going to click a fix, and you'll see that it's going to require 4 Factor Catalysts and 1 Aether Soul. Omega Memoria and Reverie Catalysts are going to allow us to make Mana Reverie. As you can see here, this would require 4 Reverie Catalysts as well as 1 Omega Memoria. Now, one thing you may not have noticed is these items actually have a purchase limit. So for Aether Soul, we can only buy 1, Factor Catalyst we can only buy 4, Omega Memoria we can only buy 1, and Reverie Catalyst we can only buy 4. This means that with this swap shop, we would only be able to make 1 Mana Reverie and 1 Ether Factor. When we actually compare these 2 abilities, you'll see that Mana Reverie gives us 50 attack, 20 HP, and 4 PP, and Ether Factor gives us 30 all, 10 HP, and 6 PP. I feel that when comparing these 2, Mana Reverie is the better choice and has more value in general. You'll see here that I actually already bought these items. If we actually look at my units real quick, you'll see that I've actually applied this to my leg unit. Right here you can see that I have Mana Reverie, EX Alisol, Mitra Glare, Might 5, and Grand Spirit. In order to get Mana Reverie on this unit, I had to use those 5 items. Since these items take 6 AC Scratch Ticket items, this means that this would cost about 30 recycle badges, a little over 30 million Meseta. So while this did cost me a good bit of my Meseta, I still feel that it was worth the investment. Moving on, we have S1 augments, S2 augments, S3 augments, and one S4 augment. These are going to be augments that you can put on your weapons. Now, whether or not these are worth getting is really up to you. It's going to be dependent on your class, your playstyle, and what weapon you're using in general. For me currently, I'm only using my Rivulet weapons. The Rivulet weapon only has an S4 and S5 augment slot, so right now none of these would really be worth it except for maybe Steadfast Will. However, Steadfast Will, all it does is increase my normal attack potency by 13%, which I don't actually think would be worth getting unless I'm playing a specific class like Hero with machine guns. The new weapon series that just came out, and as well as the future weapon series we will be getting, will be able to take these S augments though. So if there's an S augment in here that you think that you want, you would probably want to grab it now in order to use later on one of those weapons. Some S augments that I think are worth noting are S2 Precision Will 2, which increases your critical damage by 4%, S3 Strike Flow Adept, which will increase your critical rate by 2% for every 300,000 damage dealt, and this goes all the way up to 30%. And then S4 Steadfast Will, specifically if you're playing Hero with machine guns. I don't actually play Hero, so I might be wrong on that, but at first glance that's what I would assume this would be used for. Now going back to the S3s, I pointed out Strike Flow Adept is really good because it'll increase your critical rate up to 30%. However, the other S3s do something similar, and you may actually prefer one of these depending on what your playstyle is. One of them will decrease the damage you take, and the other one will decrease your PP consumption. After the S augments, we have crafting items. I don't do a whole lot of crafting, but I do know that 70% is actually quite a big deal. However, I don't know if this would be worth 20 million Meseta, but like I said, I don't do that much crafting in the first place, so I don't really know. I would assume this probably isn't worth 20 million Meseta though. Next we have Augmentation Aid 45%. This also costs 20. We were given a bunch of these for free, and I don't think I'd want to spend another 20 million Meseta just to get one more. Then we got Enhancement Clamp plus 1. This would cost 30 of these. I'm pretty sure that's not worth it. In fact, if we actually go over to the personal shop, you can actually buy them for 10 million Meseta. That's literally 1/3 the price that you would basically be paying to get it from the swap shop. Next we have Ultimate Boosters. This would cost you 2 items each, so about 2 million Meseta per Ultimate Booster. I would say this is definitely not worth it just because we have a lot more ways of obtaining Ultimate Boosters right now. If you're grinding the Divide quest, you'll actually obtain quite a bit of these. However, we also have other ways of getting these as well. If we go to the Rising Weapon Badge 5 shop, you'll see that we can get 1 Ultimate Booster for every 10 Rising Weapon Badge 5 we have. Now I currently have about 3,000 Rising Weapon Badge 5s, so I can almost get 300 Ultimate Boosters just by using my Rising Weapon Badge 5s if I wanted to. I'm definitely not going to do that though, because I might want to use my Rising Weapon Badge 5s for something else instead. However, I don't even feel like I need to do this because I already have 124 Ultimate Boosters and haven't really decided what I'm going to do with them yet. And this is also just an example of how much easier it is to grind Ultimate Boosters now that we have Divide quests and everything. Now going to the Photon Booster Exchange, you'll see we can also get these by using our Photon Boosters. This would require 90 per, so if you wanted you could also buy these using Photon Boosters. If you don't know how to get Photon Boosters, the best way of doing it would be to grind Advanced Quests. If you know how to grind Advanced Quests, you can actually rack up a really large amount of Photon Boosters very easily, and you could possibly do this while leveling up other classes, or farming for specific augments. Next we have the Lambda Grinders. This would cost you 1 AC scratch ticket for 5. 5 Lambda Grinders is not worth 1 million Meseta, so don't do this. If you do this, you're an idiot. The same goes for the Weapon Transmutation Aux Passes. If you use 1 AC scratch ticket item for 10 Weapon Transmutation Aux Passes, there's something wrong with you. Next we have the Augment Transfer Passes. This will cost you 1 for each pass, and you have a purchase limit of 10 of these. Depending on how many Augment Transfer Passes you have saved up, this may or may not be worth it. If I manage to build up my Meseta enough, and feel confident enough to spend 10 million Meseta on 10 Augment Transfer Passes, then I will get this, but it is low on my to-do list. Next we have Divide Medals. You can get 60 Divide Medals for 1 AC scratch ticket item, and you have a purchase limit of 20, so you could potentially spend about 20 million Meseta on 1,200 Divide Medals. If you don't know what Divide Medals are used for, go here, exchange Divide Medals for items, and there are a number of items you can get here. You can get materials required for the new weapons released. These will also be required for weapons and units that will be coming out in the future as well. Then we've got some weapons. I'm not really sure how good these weapons are because none of them are related to my class. Then we have some S augments, S5s, ultimate boosters, pure photons, gold prize metals, lambda grinders, and synthesizer. Now, one thing that I know some people will be using the divide metals for is the lumen crystal grania. You're going to need a lot of these for things later on, and since this is a limited item, you'll probably want to try and buy all the ones in the stock before it refreshes after a month. You'll see here, this has a purchase limit of 4 and it will restock in 24 days. Now the Lumen Fragment ML, whether or not you need this is really going to be dependent on how many you have and how much you've been grinding the Divide quest. You'll also notice that you need Lumen Fragment MLs when you're getting the Grania, so you might need to buy some manually if you want to get your Granias before the stock refreshes. Just a quick note, I'm going to go back to the Ultimate Booster and you're going to see this requires 30 Divide Metals. Now if we go back to the swap shop, you'll see that the Ultimate Booster required us to have 2 of the AC Scratch ticket items. However, 60 Divide Metals only cost 1 AC Scratch ticket item. So that means in the swap shop, the Ultimate Boosters are worth about 2 million Meseta, versus if you were to just buy Divide Metals, you would get 60 Divide Metals for about 1 million Meseta, which you could then buy 2 Ultimate Boosters with. This means if you were to buy Divide Metals and then buy Ultimate Boosters that way, you'd essentially be spending half a mil on each Ultimate Booster versus 2 mil on each Ultimate Booster. But like I said, you have a lot of ways of getting Ultimate Boosters, so you probably shouldn't even do that. Then the last 2 items are Tri-Boost 100% and EXP Earned 100%. Now, I don't think Tri-Boost 100% is worth 3 million Meseta, and I also don't think EXP Earned plus 100% is worth 2 million Meseta. However, these do have a 10 purchase limit, so if you were to invest in these, you would be able to obtain quite a bit of them, and as long as you don't waste them, it may actually be worth it for you. But anyway, those are my thoughts on the limited AC Scratch swap shop. If there's something in the swap shop that you think is worth getting that I didn't mention, or something that you don't think is worth getting that I did mention, make sure to leave a comment down below. And if you enjoyed the video and you want to see more, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.